So anyone who knows me knows that I have big ideas, like really big ideas. So I'm gonna share with you some of my big ideas for this year for the farm. After that truck passes, and that car. You know, Everett and I go back and forth. He does not like living on this busy road. I, on the other hand, see this busy road and I'm like, this is gonna be great for us because we have so much traffic coming through and it's so convenient for people to stop and buy stuff from us. So he sees lots of cars and noise. I see cha-ching dollar signs. I mean, you have to make some money to keep your farm going. So one of my personal non-farm related goals, but just because it makes me happy goal, is I would love to turn this whole section of my front yard into a cottage garden with lots of really awesome rose bushes and lilac trees and hydrangeas. Because those are the things that I love. Oh, and peonies. So many peonies. Because these are the things I loved that I couldn't really get to grow in Houston. The environment just was not conducive for growing things like tulips and crocuses and lilies and larkspur. So I want to do a traditional English style cottage garden. I see that as a project that'll be done in stages, just because I don't want it to be work. I want it to be something I do just because I enjoy it and it makes me happy. Part of the reason I got into flower farming is because flowers make me so flippin' happy. Of course, this means that next fall, I'm going to want to dig up the ancient peony plants and divide them. They don't look like much now, but those peonies are enormous. I probably should cut them back though before they pop up again in the spring. We'd also like to add another apple tree to the orchard because I feel like there's a hole here. And I think one other apple tree would be really nice. I'd also like to add some cherry and peach trees, but that may be done in stages. I may add the peaches this year, and then add the cherries after I remove the peonies and move them to the cottage garden next year. We're gonna have to wait till fall to dig up these peonies when they go dormant and divide them. So it's going to take a little while before we can get our cherry trees planted. Another big issue we have on our property is wind. We do have a lot of trees, but it's not, no one would call this a wooded lot. It is not that. So one of our goals for this year, which we can achieve because we have a really cool program through our county. They do a tree sale every year where they sell trees and shrubs, fruit trees, non-fruiting trees, and all sorts of interesting shrubs as a fundraiser for the conservancy of our natural resources in this community. And so it's a win-win. I get really reasonably priced trees and I get to support my local community, which is cool. But one of our big projects that we want to do this year is we want to start putting in a windbreak. Oh gosh, this is floppy. It's not so much that we pour drainage here, it's just there's nowhere for the water to go because the ground is still really frozen. So for the first about 10 feet, I'm going to plant some lilac bushes because they'll serve a double purpose. They grow really dense and bushy, but then they also provide me a woody perennial that I can harvest from for years. So they'll be a boon to my business. starting about here, we want to put in basically a grove of hazelnut and elderberry bushes. We're gonna leave this grassy, meadowy area behind it because I want to build it up, use it as a buffer between us and the soybean fields next to us. I'm not exactly sure what their conventional, what they're using as far as pesticides or herbicides go, but I want to protect my property from herbicide damage as much as I can. And eventually pesticide damage as well, because we're gonna get those bees this year and I don't want them to die from being poisoned to death. Look, I have my ice skating rink. So just inside this grassy area is where we want to put our windbreak. We foresee this being a several year project. We'll just go section by section to help spread out the cost, and because just the manual labor of doing it and when we have to do it, it's kicking off the busy season and we don't have as much time to devote to planting things as we would really like. One of the things that's on the table is a couple rows of apple and chestnut trees back along the strip leading into the pasture. We want to leave enough room that we can get any equipment that we might get in the future in and through. One of the reasons we want to do this is so that we can create food for us and then food for any of the wildlife that come through, particularly deer. Because it's kind of, deer seem to want to go for the low-hanging fruit, to be cliched. Oh, speaking of deer, here's some of their poo. The deer have been here. We want to create a food stand, essentially, so that this still remains a really good place for Everett to do, well, he wants to start hunting again. And having a food source for the deer means they'll hang around and hopefully not eat my vegetables or my flowers. Now, they're still gonna eat my vegetables and flowers, but maybe they'll eat fewer of them. At one point, the pasture was fenced off, I think, given all of these T-posts that line them. At one point, this was all fenced in. And we'd really like to get to a point where it's all fenced in again, so that when we get our sheep and our goats, they're protected against predators and, from eating our neighbor's soybeans, because nobody likes the neighbor whose goats eat their soybeans. I swear, if I ever build a pond, though, this is where it's going to be. Because holy cow, this area, it must be lower, because all of the runoff seems to have gone here. See, this is what I'm talking about when I talk about big dreams. I'm like, yes, let's put in a pond. It is something we've talked about, because it would be really convenient to just let the ducks out of the yard and day arrange them around a pond. More deer poop. And that little section right there seems like a really good candidate for that. One of our other projects for the spring is extending the duck yard a little bit. So we have what looks like it used to be a door right here on the barn. I think it was at one point, because the area is just so perfectly cut. And it's framed out too. So we're inside my barn. We are still in the process of cleaning out. I think it's gonna take years to clean this out, because there's just so much stuff. If you go through here to where I think that door used to be, you see it's framed out like a door. And I was thinking, if we clean this area out and get rid of all these windows and all this broken glass and stuff, which we might end up using to create our cold frame, this would make a really good looking parlor. This was actually Everett's idea. I know, he's gonna be like, don't sound so surprised, honey. Usually when Everett has an idea, it's a pretty good one. But he always kind of takes the, this is your show, sweetie, approach to most things. So, we want to take off this panel right here, add sliding hardware to create a barn door, like this one, and put a little platform here where I could walk the goats up a flight of stairs or a ramp. It wouldn't be very high. It's less than 40 inches tall, and goats are really good at climbing, so I don't think it would be an issue to get them up here. In theory. So we're going to essentially leave this T-post here. Well, actually, we're not going to leave the T-post here. We're going to replace this T-post with a wooden post so that we can add more fence and expand the duck yard out this way. Kind of create an L-shaped duck yard, which will give them significantly more room, which will allow us to build them a little water trough duck pond. They've just been so happy with the chickens having all these things to climb on and stuff to do that I've decided they need more enrichment things in their life. Minerva agrees. So we have lots of ideas on what we can do to improve our property. It's a work in progress. Like most things. But it's kind of cool to see what we've already done and plan what we're going to do going forward. We're gonna stop in and see. We're gonna stop in and see the chickens and ducks. See if they laid any more eggs. Chicken footage. There's Loretta. Edith's got a tail growing in. I'm so excited. Irvingtons are getting enormous. Okay, hi. Seriously, every time. Oh, okay, hello. Holy cow! Plus, I got 2 this morning. I currently have about 4 cartons of eggs in my fridge, so this is getting a little crazy. I hope my egg cartons come soon, because we may be getting really close to being able to put a sign out on the front driveway. Oh, okay, hi. I think this would be a really good time. Dolly. And I would really like it if you would like and subscribe to our channel. We appreciate your support. I hope you find us at least remotely entertaining. Thanks for stopping by, and stick around and we'll see how this garden grows.